Countess Wachmeister meets H P Blavatsky 1884, read by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. This account comes from Episodes from an Unwritten History by Claude Bragdon. The Countess Wachmeister, wife and widow of a Swedish count who had been a minister to the court of St. James, was a woman of the world, the last person, one would have said, to exchange a life of ease and honour for one of wandering and sometimes shabby bohemianism in the service of the high priestess of a cult considered, in the popular mind, more strange and outrageous than any other. But a great and generous spirit struck off the golden chains which bound it, and followed a light which to the world was darkness, considering the world well lost for the privilege of living in close intimacy with one whom she considered to be the wisest and noblest of humankind. Her first glimpse of HPB was in 1884 at the Synods in London. This is her description of their meeting. My reception by my hostess was cordial, and I was at once introduced to Madame Blavatsky. Her features were instinct with power, and expressed an innate nobility of character that more than fulfilled the anticipations I had formed. But what chiefly arrested my attention was the steady gaze of her wonderful grey eyes, piercing yet calm and inscrutable. They shone with a serene light which seemed to penetrate and unveil the secrets of the heart. When, however, I turned to look upon those who surrounded her, I experienced a revulsion of feeling that for a time left an uneasy impression upon my mind. It was a strange scene that met my view. On the floor, at the foot of the low ottoman on which Madame Blavatsky was seated, several visitors were grouped who gazed up at her with an expression of homage and adoration. Others hung upon her words with a studied show of rapt attention, and all seemed to me more or less affected by a prevailing tone of flattery. As I sat apart and looked at what was passing before me, I permitted suspicions, which I have since learned to be perfectly groundless and gratuitous, to rest in my mind. I could not then tell that her nature was inherently incapable of degrading its powers and its great mission to the purpose of a cheap popularity. The Countess saw Madame Blavatsky once more before leaving London, though this time no words passed between them, and she had no expectation of their ever meeting again. But one evening, to her great surprise, she received a letter addressed in an unfamiliar handwriting which proved to be from HPB. In it she invited the Countess to come and see her in Paris, as she was anxious for a private interview. The temptation to know more of one whose personality interested her so profoundly decided the Countess to return to Sweden via Paris. The promised interview did not take place in that city, however, but after many delays and difficulties at Enghien, at the country seat of the Countess d'Ademars, where both women were guests. It was one of those communion of souls, of precious memory, in which destiny, for a moment, lifts its veil from her face. Madame Blavatsky told the Countess many things which she thought were known only to herself, and declared that before 2 years had passed she would devote her life wholly to Theosophy.